Good evening. I'm Howard Nema, and you are watching and listening to We Are Change Connecticut with my co-host Vinny Bdatruth. Vinny, how are you? You out there, Vinny?
Yep, sorry I had to get the
Yeah,
mic
I was
unmuted.
just I had a little technical thing trying to get my mic started as well, but we are back, and it's good to hear your voice, brother. I know that you have an addition to your family now, so that's some awesome news. Let's give the audience a little heads up.
Yeah, it was Tuesday, the 28th at 1:20. My daughter Vienne, which is Vienne, Vienne Bella was born, and my girlfriend had to have a C-section, so we were there for a few days. I didn't get out till yesterday, me and her. Um, but very healthy, beautiful baby, very excited.
That's awesome.
I'm sure a good thing to talk about for the show and for our audience is about the vaccines and how I had to deal with the doctors every single day, about 7 or 8 people trying to get her vaccinated and immunized.
They were just
And
constantly after you to do it, right? Every minute you were there,
yeah, and
pretty
and
much, right?
that's why we filled out these papers, had them notarized, brought it to them from the beginning, had it for months, and they still everybody.
Oh, they're brainwashed. I think you're child abuse. I'm surprised CPS hasn't come to your house yet, Vinny.
Well, we never know what's down the line, but the one lady at the end, the day we were leaving, before we could leave,
Mm-hmm.
the one head nurse had to come and talk to me. She tried to talk to my girlfriend Tina, and she, said, "Listen, my boyfriend doesn't want to do that." So she wanted to talk to me. So we talked, and it was the vitamin K shot that
They were yeah. They,
she just wanted to talk to me about. And the vitamin K shot is for a blood clotting problem with the children. And when I look into it, it's like it's rare. It's maybe 4 out of 100,000 babies might have this problem.
mhm.
And I guess for I think 20 or 30 years they've been doing vitamin K shots. And she's telling me, why don't you want to do this? And I said, listen, I think that a lot of problems that are all around us are because of too much vaccination. 60 vaccines for a 6-year-old is too much. There's just way too much of this, and I don't agree with it. And she tried to get into, well, I understand what you're saying about the vaccines, but this is vitamin K.
Hmm.
And then I
That
started
Vinny,
laughing.
I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah, because yeah, it's funny,
Oh,
hilarious. But why don't you show your camera, man, until Jim from
well,
We Are
I'm not
Change
really. It's kind
Connecticut.
of all crazy over
Oh,
here.
it is. Okay, okay. I didn't know that you're unable to do that. That's no worries. But listen, I'm going to just be on you for a minute. I have to step away just for a second. But give the audience a just so that if you ask for me where I'm going to be, I'll be away for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
But go into what's going on. I know we spoke
So
about it, but now yeah, go into her whole propaganda, trying
yeah,
to convince you with her compartmentalized view of the world. All right, go ahead.
okay. So she tells me, I understand the vaccines. I'm not telling you to because they want to give hepatitis B also shot the minute they're born. Those are the two vaccines, and she said, I understand, how you feel about the vaccination. She said, but vitamin K, it's a vitamin, and that's when I laughed. Nice, not to be mean and get into a fight with her, but I had to laugh. And I said, well, vitamin K, that's the name of it, but it's not vitamin K. It's synthetic. You know that, right? And she did know that, and she said, well, yes, it is synthetic. I said, okay. And I looked up the ingredients, and there's like 5 different chemicals, and one of them is like an antifreeze. So, it's not vitamin K, it's synthetic. I want to be as natural as possible, I told her. And she then, continued to say, well, vitamin K is very necessary, and how is she going to get it? And I said, well, through breastfeeding. My girlfriend, Tina, all she has to do is eat leafy greens, like broccoli is the number one thing for vitamin K. So that would be the natural way, and this is what I was explaining to her. And finally, after handling it calm and talking intelligently, she, they try to pressure you, make you get scared. Well, do you understand that her risk are higher because of you not doing this? And basically had to say yes, I understand, and I still want this to be this way. And so my daughter is a healthy baby with no vaccinations, and now we're finally home. We got home yesterday. Um, I know Jonathan Gray is scheduled for today. I haven't gotten in touch with him yet. I'm hoping that he'll join. I got a lot of questions for him. The book, if he comes on, which we're thinking he's supposed to come on, the Forbidden Secret: Charting Your Rescue from the New World Order, is going to be the main topic we'll be talking about. Um, Let me read one of the things in the back here. The one, okay, um,
Very
okay,
interesting, Vinny. Now they can. Vinny, go ahead with this reading
yes.
this thing, reading the thing you're going to read.
The one thing that isn't a secret is that our world is in a monstrous mess. We are surrounded by fear, violence, corruption, fake scientific data, religious hypocrisy, secular despair, evil at the highest levels, permeating our daily lives. A murderous mob has seized control of our planet. They have chilling plans for you and your family. The elite have sworn to suppress the forbidden secrets, discredit it, and keep it from the public. They have deceitfully manipulated every aspect of our society, mentally conditioning us to doubt, ignore, and reject the survival strategy offered in the forbidden secret. But a powerful figure is set to smash their agenda. Meanwhile, a rescue plan is in place, and simple steps will guarantee your survival. Well, I think a lot of you know who the powerful figure is set to smash their agenda. Um, Jonathan Gray is, not like Ralph Ellis. These are two opposite end guys, I would say. I would definitely like to ask him some things about Ralph Ellis. Um, but he is saying that even it was written before the Bible. I know he's talked about with the stars,
Right.
and that even this story goes back to the stars about uh, a savior coming, born from a virgin, and all of this is even written in the stars before the Bible. And he says that this is the story that was all over the world and that everybody knew, and that Jesus and all this is real, that the devil is real,
Oh,
and
yes, no doubt.
so like I said, this is you know, uh, I had Ralph Ellis on 2 weeks ago, which is talking about Jesus being a Mason and all that. So
Yeah,
like I
that
said,
was very controversial about that whole thing. And then again, his viewpoints that the Illuminati are good. It's sort of like what? I mean, I had a little
well,
problem
I
with
picture
that.
I picture him sort of like Tom Hanks in the Da Vinci Code. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how Tom Hanks was in the Da Vinci Code, if you remember, kind of.
Do you think
Uh,
Ralph Ellis is an atheist? Or does he
uh
believe in God? Does he believe in God, or I mean, it's like the idea of whether you believe in Jesus or
yeah,
the stories. I mean, is he the kind of person that just believes there is no God? Like Nietzsche said, God is dead.
no, I don't think he's that. But I think that he definitely has a different outlook on the story, and that was his opinion through his research.
Right.
I've never been to Egypt. I don't know, uh, but this is why I said before the show to everybody, with the controversy, I still think that it's good to listen to everything and get it from the mouth of the source. And this is something that I've been looking into for 3 years, ever since, like I told him, I seen a documentary years ago that mentioned his books and many others talking about Egypt. And I've even brought up about Sigmund Freud writing Moses of Monotheism and getting murdered, where they talk about these were Egyptian pharaohs and their stories. So, I just wanted to have Ralph Ellis come on and explain it. And but now, here it is 2 weeks later, and Jonathan Gray, hopefully is going to be joining us at some point. Um, we'll be sitting here talking about the rescue plan and Jesus. That's what I mean about being open minded, and I'm open to hear everything. And I don't think Ralph Ellis is satanic or anything evil like that. But that is his opinion, and that's all I could call it right now because even though he was on the show, I can't say fact or fiction for his stuff. It's just very interesting opinions is what I wanted to hear. You know what I'm saying, Howard?
Oh no, absolutely. In fact, I think that it's a good analysis of the idea of what we're trying to portray here, Vinny, is that uh, for anyone to make an informed decision, you need to have information, and you need to not be limited by the information. And the founding fathers understood this, that we have that thought, individual ideas, and even beliefs,
Yeah,
um,
freedom of
freedom,
religion.
right? Of course, has a place, and the understanding is that it should be respected, and that's part of the moral code that the New World Order is trying to decay, to divide the people by religion, to divide the
Yes, have
people
us
by
fighting.
to have us
Hmm.
fighting, right? And interestingly enough, we're talking about Freud, Edward Bernays, his nephew, um, of course, famously for creating the fact that everyone wants to buy these products to make them feel better, and these useless products, that they do, and they obviously always have been doing this, and now. You see how in films that they've been putting out recently, I've been screening them on Truth Talk Night at the Movies, a film called Propaganda, which again had a very interesting parallel to Ralph Ellis, with the idea of that religion is just a way for them to control the people, and Jesus and all of this. In this case, really wasn't the God. So again, they had an atheist viewpoint, but the rest of the information was on target, and how the wars are all created out of propaganda, slogans.
Yep.
The slogans are powerful, and
Well,
very
it's sort of
interesting.
like Zeitgeist too, right? With Peter Joseph, where they talk about the Federal Reserve and everything, and
Yes,
then
then
he
they get
gets
into
into
the
the New
religion,
Age,
right? The New
and,
Age
and it was New
religion.
Age or astrotheology too,
Hmm.
kind of to me,
Right.
to say that there was no Jesus or Krishna or anybody, and that it's all sun worship. So to me, that Peter Joseph is an astrotheologist, New Ager, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree, and I think that it's clear, Vinny, that there is this attack against God, attack against, it's to have a secular world where everything you want is your own. Like Jean-Paul Sartre was, freedom and responsibility. Not, it's the law. In other words, the rule of law, but not God, and their rule of law, the way they perceive it to be, and they can disobey it. Obama can break the Constitution on a daily basis, but if we
Hmm.
if we so much as have point oh 0.09, we get lose our license, get cause us many thousands of dollars in fines and fees, and up and travels around with us for many years on our expenses. So it's just hysterical, the New World Order, the way that they tax and put all of their restrictions and costs upon the people, and they themselves, for the most part, pay no or little taxes,
Oh yeah, because
uh,
they got
and
all their accountants and lawyers
yeah,
and everything, their joint accounts and trust accounts and everything hidden offshore accounts. You got to be a genius. You got to have these really smart guys who know how to do this stuff.
yeah, you got to be part of the club, Vinny. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the truth. And we always talk about this, and it's the bankers are just, again, it's who owns the banks. All right, look, there's
Hmm.
corruption in all of these industries. I mean, uh, the tyranny is in the corporatism, profits over people, but you got to sell to the people. So it's like a double-edged sword. I mean, but they certainly have figured out a way for us to buy things we don't need, want things that are unimportant, at the cost of society, at a decay. They love promiscuity. They love sex. They love homosexuality. They want to make things normal. That actually, it's almost like going back to like the Roman or the classical period, where certain
Yeah.
point, no, really, just certain things just become acceptable. So once they've made all of these other things acceptable, they can introduce, whatever else they could think of, bestiality for or whatever. I mean, that's getting maybe a little wild, but maybe not, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
maybe not.
right. Um, so the whole idea is for this decadence and that it's all about you feeling good and buying things that you can't afford and keeping you in debt because, you know, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, very few people can just buy a $35,000 automobile without putting some money down and taking payments. Maybe you shouldn't have a $35,000 automobile. Maybe that 5 or 10,000 you have, you should just buy a $5 or 10,000 car. But no, that works against the system, but it works for you because now you're buying a product that depreciates at a highest cost you can buy so that you fit in with the crowd, so that you look good. Do you
And
see
you're
what I
stuck
mean?
in debt.
And you're stuck in debt. You see how I mean that's a perfect example. The same thing with the house that people can't afford. And they fed you on this, ladies and gentlemen. That is why Clinton repealed Glass-Steagall so the banks could go wild, sell derivatives to make it even wilder. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac going wild because Clinton then had the American Prosperity Act he put into effect, which was going to make low-income earners and minorities make it easier for them to buy homes. And then all of this stuff was just going on, and people were buying homes that really shouldn't be buying homes. The reason they didn't have homes is because they had poor credit or they were late payers, and next thing you know, you crash the market and they lose their jobs and whatever else happens. And we had how many millions of people lost their homes and are still losing their homes in this ever decaying economy. Anyway, that was my rant for the show. Oh wow! So I'm really interested to have Jonathan Gray. It's
I
gonna
know.
it's
I,
gonna be
I don't
great.
know what's going on. He's been on before. He knows. You know, he said he was coming on.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
there was a miscommunication.
Well, he said 6 o'clock. So we got it going for that. I'm gonna just let's get a hold and see if we can add add somebody
Jim?
to this call. Yeah, I'm gonna get Jimmy and add him to the call. Jim from We Are Change Connecticut. Okay. Jim. Okay. Where is he?
Yeah, I was definitely looking
Keep
forward
going.
to ask
Keep talking.
Jonathan Gray a little bit about Ralph Ellis.
Yeah, exactly. We go into this whole thing. It'd be real interesting. Um,
Because I seen in reading, I didn't get to read it all. I read most of the book, but in one of the parts, I see him talking about 70 A.D. and
mhm,
the Battle of Jerusalem, or the Siege of Jerusalem, a better way to put it.
mhm.
And so Jonathan Gray definitely has some knowledge of that time period, and I would like to, I was definitely going to ask him about Ralph Ellis and some of those comments he made, and about Josephus and all that, and definitely about Egypt. Did he find this in Egypt? Does he know anything about Moses being a pharaoh or anything like that?
Very
So
interesting. Yeah, we could definitely bring it into that realm.
because
It'll be very
like I
interesting.
said, yeah, Jonathan Gray, like I said, he obviously is talking about Jesus being the rescuer. So I'm sure he's going to have something to say about Ralph Ellis.
Yeah, they were like in conflict with one another. So yeah, it would.
Yes,
Yeah, again. So yeah,
but
that
this is
makes for
how I
good.
feel like I could get a better understanding of what to believe is by
Yes,
debate and
I agree.
you know and getting
People.
it right from the source.
Yeah, well, that's what we've been trying to do. We've done a good job. I'm glad you're back in action again, Vinny. And I know you're going to be very tired because the first few months of childbirth,
Yeah, it's not much sleep
and not
so
much
far.
sleep involved. So
It's
get
not
it,
every
get it.
2-3 hours you got to get up and feed her.
That's right. Get it when you can, and rest easy. But it'll pass, and then the first night she sleeps through the night, you're gonna be like, "Wow, that's amazing! She slept through the night." And I remember all that. That's pretty awesome. It really is.
And
Um,
again, and talking about God and all this stuff, when the child's born, like, I've already felt this way, but when the child was born, and to see her, a minute after coming out, already looking to get food, already, it didn't have to be told like, hey, you need to eat or something. Like, it's already programmed, like, creation is so special to me, and this was just another example of why I believe in a creator and
Hmm.
not in evolution. Um, it's just amazing, she came out with fingernails and everything, like a little person, and we were all that size at one point, and it's just amazing life and creation.
It really is. It really is. It's just unbelievable. And I remember when Patrick was born. It was a little different situation though, Vinny. Much different actually. We had a situation where Maureen should have had a C-section, but the doctor apparently was didn't do them, so he didn't want to lose his delivery fee, which is the biggest part of his
Yeah,
payoff. And he put her through torture basically, and they delivered him with forceps, and he was injured. He was actually permanently injured. Um,
that's horrible.
yeah, that's right. And they said that he would be fine in 6 months, and of course that's not true. And believe me, the medical mafia, the medical conspiracy, these people are, I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, but they're business people. They're salespeople. They are selling you and using
Yeah,
using using the fear of disease and death to
yep.
get you to do things. It's
Bunch of
horrific.
drug pushers.
They
They're
are
the
they
real drug dealers.
they really are. And I knew this back then. I realized the corruption in it because there was a lawsuit, and my son was awarded a judgment, and as
Deservingly so.
yeah, and but if you would listen to them and did what they said, you would have been past the period of time that you could have made a complaint and not been entitled to anything. And that's their game. That's how they play. They try to soothe you and say, no, he'll be all right. Bring him to therapy and do this, and they'll do that. And then as we went through this whole thing, you could see some of these therapists that had some morals, and they realized that that's a lie.
Hmm.
And then you just keep moving along, and it didn't take long. It only took a couple of weeks for us to realize that we've been had. And then of course we sued Dr. Robert Berg,
Good.
who had actually quite a few other problems. So anyone in New York City, in Queens, who Dr. Robert Berg, you should stay away from him. Anyway, so that said, he had other cases, and you know, um, and it's just a horrible thing. He did it because he was greedy, and the New World Order works off that systematic uh, programming that these are important
Yeah.
things to do. I
The main
mean,
motivate, the
the
main
money.
motivate, yeah, factor. Yep.
Main motivating factor is money, and you want to be, they want you to live beyond your means, so you're always struggling, you're always chasing the carrot. If you don't, you're looked down upon. You're actually humiliated if you drive an older car. I mean, people that's not part of, you must be poor, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
remember growing up in the Bronx, and if you didn't have Nike or something, you were a loser. You know.
yeah, or whatever it would be, right? It's all part of the mind control, as you know, Vinny. And that's why it's always so important for us to raise awareness to the propaganda that it is a corporatized world, that everything's about buying and selling things, and now they're even selling people getting married. The Bachelorette and all these. I mean, they get like three people, and they're going to choose who they're going to marry for their life and put it on
Yeah,
television. I mean, come
that's
on,
crazy.
that is crazy. I mean,
And
it's out of control.
how could they call it reality?
Uh,
Cameras in their faces.
yeah, even if it is, it's just bizarre. I mean, that they get this like programmed, these sheeple just going at it and loving it, and they just love it, and they do, and they plan their lives around television. They, their shows, or they TiVo this or whatever they do, or they DVR that, and oh, I got to watch my shows. I got to watch this, instead of like really just realizing that. Did you ever think about all the things you really want? Even like I'm a musician, right? And some of the things with the new understanding the new world order with music really has changed my life, and it hasn't changed who I am, but it's hard for me to understand how I embraced so many things that were really sort of so evil, um,
Hmm.
in like the styles and people like that were what they were involved in the music. Now it doesn't mean that if you play music that of somebody
Yeah.
that you're bad or
Yeah,
anything.
we've talked about
We
this.
talked
Yep.
about this. We've done this on air a few times, but it does, make you aware of of textures that you might not have been aware of, like always loving the Eagles and everything, and Then you look into the Eagles and you say, wow, Hotel California and Anton LaVey's in the background of the cover. And there's just a lot of really witchy stuff. And then Ooh, Witchy
Yeah,
Woman. And there's a lot of real stuff in there, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah,
And you can't deny it. How do you accept it? Well, realize that your next door neighbor could be a practicing Luciferian. And you know what? To be honest, if you really, I mean, if you again, you're going back to the Constitution, they have a
yeah,
right to do what they do too, but they don't have a right to kill. They don't have a right to. I mean, if an example is like if blood rituals are part of their religion, that's not acceptable. Okay,
yep.
but they do have a right to believe or worship whatever they wish. But if they cross the line, like what about right here in East Hartford 2 months, 3 months ago, Vinny, while you were up in the woods? Uh, no, they found they built a circle of stone, and in the center of the circle of stone, they had candles, and they slaughtered a goat,
Oh yes, I remember you telling me about that
and they
a
left
few
it
months
out.
ago.
They left it, and it was out in a park, just out behind the East Hartford police station.
Wow.
So yeah, so I mean, these people are
Well,
among us. I
that's
used
the
to know
whole.
pagans. I knew
Isn't
people that were pagans. There are people that think that they're vampires too.
yes,
No, they really believe they are, and they live like vampires.
yeah, and I knew a few girls
I
growing up that thought they were witches.
Oh,
Um,
definitely, yeah.
but again, like you were saying, you do have a right to believe in Lucifer, I guess, or whatever. But the common law, that's why I really like when JM and people talk about the common law,
The
and
common
that's why
law,
claiming common law, which again is just you have freedom to do whatever you want except damage other people or property. So if
correct.
you want to worship, Lucifer, that's fine as long as you're not damaging or hurting any other person or property. I mean, it sounds funny to say that, yeah, it's okay to worship that because, eventually I think that type of belief, you're not going to really care about other people and
And their
not
rights or
really,
property, or their
yeah.
lives. Yeah, of course. The things that we hold sacred: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Remember, it starts with life.
Hmm.
The right to life. That's the first three words of it. The right to life. Right to
Yes.
life. Right to life. And that is the ultimate protection. We must protect life of any kind. I mean, so um, it doesn't mean that people have to give. See, when you get into this left-right thing with the abortion issue and all of that,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you're taking away a woman's right to choose, because you're really not taking away a woman's right to choose. What you're doing is you're stopping murder. So you're actually protecting what is constitutionally protected by life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unless you can say
Hmm.
that the pregnant woman's fetus or whatever it is not alive, is not a life, then you've got a problem. So it's not just a moral problem; it's a constitutional problem. And it doesn't mean that women should have to
Watch
go.
Truth Talk News Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on
Hello.
TruthBroadcastNetwork.com.
Now that was just a station break, Vinny.
Okay.
Just to let us know that coming into station time, just to let me know it's the half hour point. And I think there might be even a piece of music here, and we'll be coming back. But no, actually, I just think it's just a station ID. That's all it was. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't have time to program in some of the stuff I wanted to, but I had this background thing running, so it usually works pretty cool. That was just a station ID. And again, you are watching Truth Talk Broadcast Network, truthbroadcastnetwork.com, I should say, and Project Freedom Radio. And it's just in case I forget to mention it that I put a couple of them in there, so it's a courtesy to the great people and liberty lovers like Bobby Kay at Project Freedom Radio that gets this message out. Anyway, yeah, so we're talking about this stuff, but again, the idea is, they've gotten people to believe that it's okay. First of all, they're eugenicists, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand that they want death. They want you to have an abortion. They want you to wear a rubber. They want you to eat food that sterilizes you. They want you to take
Yep.
vaccines that sterilize you because they want less population. This is on record. I go through this all the
The
time.
number one goal to them. Yep.
Number one goal. So they're all for abortion. And again, I'm not getting into this thing because it's not even a religious issue or a personal issue.
I used to think that it's, of course, everyone's right because you have a right to freedom and freedom, you're that whole concept. But when you really examine it, if you look at the Constitution, the right to life, that's
Yeah,
it's
it's a very
saying
good
it.
point.
It really is. So now I'm not saying again. There were many things. I had many beliefs that I at one time thought were correct or right, and found them to be wrong, and changed my position on them in many ways. When one becomes awake or one learns about the New World Order, you really start to realize that you don't want to feed into that. You don't want to be a part of it. Um, so it's like I said, that's why I'm sometimes music sometimes troubles me. But then I realize that the band, um, As Your Soul, is doing liberty music, music about freedom and truth and fighting the New World Order, and I sort of feel a little bit better about it. But I got to tell you, that darkness of certain bands that I like, that a lot of bands, that they
That we
consider,
all like.
that we
I
all
mean,
like, they are based in this Luciferian culture, for lack of a better word, and practice rituals to different degrees, and it's factual, and we know it. We talked about this, interestingly enough. I did a couple of shows while you were away, Vinny, and you would
uh-huh.
open my eyes to the Lady Gaga thing, and that whole real incredible coincidences. I mean, I don't know what else to call it,
I
right?
mean, yeah. I mean, I guess technically we have to call it coincidences,
Yeah.
but
So what was her name? The girl that Stephanie something or other. What was
Lady Gaga's real name was, yeah, Stephanie Graziano, something with a G
right? And
R.
the other girl, she ripped off this girl. She stole her whole identity,
Yeah,
basically, literally, and
Lena Morgana. Yeah,
right, Lena
and
Morgana. I looked up on
yes,
that and I was like, wow. And the fact that they did a video where this woman, she's thrown off a balcony, and that's
yes,
actually what happened to Lena.
yes. Well, allegedly she committed suicide, but
Yeah,
why would
wouldn't you commit suicide if you were writing songs for Lady Gaga, whose hit album was going to come out next month?
it? Well,
I mean,
actually,
2 months later or whatever it
well,
was.
actually, it was Nina Morgana. Just to get the stuff correct for people listening, Morgana was the one who was actually becoming famous and was the artist. Lady Gaga was someone that was there just to help in writing. She was never going to be anything because she was a nobody. But I think that speculation here, in my opinion, is Nina Morgana didn't want to do what her manager and these sick Masonic people. And I also want to throw in that ICP and St. Clown Posse is involved and twisted. And these people are Satanists. And those people that I just mentioned, some of you might not know them, they're open about it. That's not my opinion. They're satanic, and
Right.
they wanted Morgana to be satanic and a whore, like let's say Kate Perry. To get off track real fast, Kate Perry's someone who's really famous, right? Kate Perry, the one whose parents were like a
They
preacher,
were like
and
ministers, yeah.
yes, Kate Perry admitted in interviews that people could see where she said, "Yeah, I tried to be like Amy Grant, a good, wholesome singer, and her career went nowhere for years." And then her words, not mine. So she sold her soul to the devil and then started singing about "I kissed a girl" and became rich and famous. And Nina Morgana wasn't gonna sell her soul, and Lady Gaga was more than willing and anxious to, in my opinion.
Right.
And her first initiation was to kill Nina Morgana and then stole her identity. And this is what Nina Morgana's parents said. And that's where I first started looking into. And that's why I have some opinions that I'm willing
Well,
to say about
well,
it.
about blood sacrifice and ritual, if anyone's not aware of what it was required to be risen, because when you really talk about being risen to the ranks, it just means that the elite who have all the power, the Illuminati, give you the incredible coverage that you'll be required so that everyone would love you. I mean, you have to
Yep.
understand that all they have to do is throw the right amount of money in the right places, and
Yep.
everybody knows whoever their backing is. So in other words, these people literally, it's just like in the mafia, ladies and gentlemen. To be
Yep.
made, you have to make your bones. So
Hmm.
in this case, I mean, it's hard to believe. And let me tell you, this is one of the things I found hardest to believe being a musician. Um, you know, um, pretty much my whole life, and being around a lot of this stuff peripherally, and again, never really getting close to it, but enough to see that it was there, and I knew people around me that were involved in the darker side of things, but I never was able to get to the level of success that these people are talking about, obviously, at all. But
Mhm.
it's just the matter of having the right, the record company to, come to the decision that they want you. You have to be chosen. It's not the other way around. So these people that are chosen for various reasons. There's usually some sort of a connection to a family or business connection to the person that's being signed. It's almost
Yeah.
it's almost universal. Um, and,
John Todd was my favorite to listen to about on that. You know,
mhm,
John Todd.
yes,
No matter what happened to John Todd in the end, um, what John Todd was talking about was definitely the truth at that time when he did come out against the Satanists. John Todd was the guy who owned Zodiac Records, and bands like Blue Oyster Cult and a lot of people at during
right.
that time period were he was friends with, and he was on the Council of 13 out there, and he was very big into being a Satanist, and he was like a high priest,
Well,
and he hung.
He's Collins family bloodline, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Which also I noticed because my mom, I always tell her she used to watch the soap operas when I was younger, and she would watch these things. They're all Collins families. The Collins families even run like a lot of the Hollywood. Um, but John Todd, he came out again. He found Jesus, uh, came out and started telling the truth about Blue Oyster Cult and all these bands, and that's when I first was like, wow, like this is that was real. That guy really was the guy of Zodiac Productions. It wasn't that I could say is facts. Everything John Todd was saying at
Oh
that
yes.
time.
Oh no, no doubt. All these bands, there are very many of them that actually literally were, they had covens. Again, they were members of the Church of Satan. I mean, Anton LaVey
Yeah,
was real.
right.
Diana Rively and Anton LaVey were real. And um, it's just that,
Definitely.
you know.
And he was like a rock star to these people. I
Oh,
mean, these
absolutely.
people were taking even Sammy Davis. Is sitting. There's pictures of Sammy Davis hanging out with Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
So it's not even a white thing, a rock thing. It's
No.
everything. It's all of it. The rappers, all of them. You know, it's crazy to.
And it's done. It's again. It's just so like it's so far off the radar from the mainstream, Vinny, that's why people don't believe it or don't look at it or don't examine it
Well, because
or
Bill
think it's
O'Reilly
just or
would
think
tell
it's
us.
theater or think it's theater. They'll think it's theater. It's theater. Oh yeah, Anton LaVey, Church of Satan, it's theater. It's like Gene Simmons and Kiss. It's theater. You
Hmm.
know. Um, and again, when you get back to the whole thing, like with Kiss is another example. Some of these bands,
Yeah.
that Kiss, I don't
Is that like
necessarily.
Knights in Satan service or something like that?
I don't think that that's accurate from my
Okay.
experience. Again, I come from literally from the area that they came out of. They
Yep.
basically came out of Queens, and it's really it's named after the band is named after a street in Queens near that runs along um, by Queens College, which is called Casina Boulevard, Kissena Boulevard, Casina Boulevard,
Okay.
and Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. Paul Stanley lived off of Casina Boulevard, and uh, Gene Simmons, who his name was Chaim something or other. He's from Israel. He's an Israeli,
Yep.
and was from Forest Hills, which made a lot of sense because there was a large community. But again, they were two Jewish kids from that made well, like Harvey Weinstein, who also came from, by the way, that same
Yeah.
neighborhood, which was Kew Gardens Hills. So there was like this again, this interestingly enough, that's where they came from. But I don't think that it was this whole Nights in Satan service. I think that was just
Hmm.
utilized. Although the Kiss went on tour with the early tours, they went on tour with Rush, and Rush has been looked at as being a potentially Luciferian band, with their
Mhm.
symbolisms and a lot of Ayn Rand type, stuff,
And what about,
futurism.
to me, the most obvious is Ozzy Osbourne,
Well, Ozzy
Mr.
Osbourne,
Crowley.
Osbourne would be the most obvious. And again, Randy Rhoads being a sacrifice.
Wow.
Maybe it's true. Stuff I would never think of.
Yeah, years ago, yeah.
I would
But
never
but
think of that.
now,
It was just a horrific accident. But now knowing what I know about Luciferianism, um, it's again, and that it's this is speculation, and that's why I never give disinformation. I'll say I'm speculating, but it's interesting the coincidences. Like we started talking about Lady Gaga, right? And now
oh yeah,
we
it's
brought
a long
ourselves
list of all of them who have
we brought all
mysterious
these
deaths.
coincidences. Well, let's bring all these coincidences into light, and then you have the rock stars that died, and their estates are now like booming, and they're still booming to this day, that died mysteriously or supposedly of drug overdoses, like Jimi Hendrix and
Oh, I
Janis
know about the Jimmy thing.
Janis Joplin, and
The medical report with Jimi Hendrix, because we've all been told, or he died on his vomit.
yeah,
Um, when they brought him to the hospital, and the nurses like rolled him off the stretcher, uh, all this wine started pouring out of his throat, and they ended up finding out that there was a gallon of wine, and it wasn't even in his stomach. Like
they
the
poured
blood
it.
alcohol
Yeah,
level
they choked him with
wasn't
wine.
high enough, so he didn't drink a bottle of wine. He was held, yeah, and poured down,
Hmm.
and he was really, because he was saying things and joining up with the Black Panthers.
Oh no, there's no doubt. Listen, isn't it interesting? Again, let's speculate, but isn't it interesting, Vinny? How you've got Jimi Hendrix, who was a former paratrooper, he was former military. He was
Hmm.
awake. He wrote a song called Machine Gun. His song
Yeah.
he was going to be a force against the war movement.
Oh yeah.
He already was a force against the war movement. And what about Jim Morrison?
Yep.
Another one for peace. You know,
Mysteriously dead.
mysteriously dead, but also Luciferian in nature, and likes to Crowley and a lot of other things, and a lot of New World Order shit in the Doors. But again, you love the music, ladies and gentlemen. It's like a quandary. I'm at a quandary. My band plays two Doors songs, and we play Zeppelin. I mean, it's weird to do that, but whatever. Back that said, then you have these others. No, the other people. Let's go down the line. Another one for peace. You're talking about all the
Molly.
people. Bob
Molly's,
Marley. Marley had
one of the
brain
biggest there
cancer.
is.
He had brain cancer supposedly and died of brain cancer.
Well,
So
they also, the first time they shot him at his front door, they did try to shoot him,
they
and
did.
shot
I know because it's peace. Well, we know they killed John Lennon.
him.
I
Definitely.
mean, they definitely killed John Lennon with an MK Ultra, MK Ultra Manchurian candidate, Mark David Chapman. There's no
And the
question about
Beatles,
it.
all people have to do is look at Beatles albums and look at Abbey Road, look at all this stuff, look at Sergeant Pepper, which is actually Aleister Crowley, and you could see Aleister Crowley's bald,
Head,
uh, you
yeah,
know,
he's there.
Uncle Fester looking head up in the corner.
Yeah, it's
You,
there.
you know, they were Masons, the Beatles, without a doubt, and John Lennon knew a lot.
Yeah, he certainly did, and he was the one that said that the world is run by maniacal people with maniacal means and maniacal intentions. That's what he
And he
said.
gets killed for speaking about peace and
Peace,
love.
yes, and he spent a
And
lot of money trying. War is over. He tried to end the war. All these people that try to end war and have peace, that have, see, they learned something. The globalists, they didn't have this Elvis. It was really Elvis, and then Elvis came. They make Elvis
who was a sun worshiper,
the
no doubt
drugs,
about it, in
literally,
research that I've done.
literally Sun Records, man.
Yep.
Um,
Jackets, everything.
yeah, but anyway, point being is that everything after that, the popular culture was not used to this, and they moved quickly to control it. But it took a little, it took a little while because again, you had this cultural awakening with the music that was happening, and you had all this stuff that was going. Some of it was created by MI6 and the CIA, but not all of it. I mean,
Uh,
the drug culture was definitely created by the CIA. Putting together all the acid, getting it. Where do you think all this, ladies and gentlemen? Where do you think all this acid came from that people were using? You think somebody was cooking it up in a lab somewhere? They were getting it, and they would work it down a distributorship, a compartmentalized distributorship. And now it's part of the, it's still out there. I mean, what do you think? Some people just mix LSD with lysergic acid diethylamide.
Yeah, you got
You
to be
can do
like a
it. You can get.
scientist to make that stuff.
You really do have to be a scientist. You need to have that kind of background. You need to take ergot, which is a seed from rye seeds, and you can make ergot, and then it turns into lysergic acid diethylamide when you mix ergot with. It's just anyway. So yes, it's a chemical process. Most people couldn't do it. And by the way, that LSD was discovered was Albert Hoffman was trying to make a better rat poison, and that's how he discovered LSD. Just for those that are not aware, Anyhow, one of the probably the most powerful mind-altering drug there is, depending on how much you get.
Uh,
Well, that was key to the MK Ultra, using LSD, torture, and electroshock therapy, then covered also with tranquilizers and sedatives to calm anxiety. And then psychic driving, Dr. Ewan Cameron's techniques. So when we talk about somebody like the Unabomber, who was a willing participant in this very study of MK Ultra, this very program, and I just told you what they did to the people in the program. 15 years after he's a subject in this program, he starts blowing things up as the Unabomber. Interesting, right?
yep.
And then you have Mark David Chapman, comes from
Yep.
Hawaii, not a Beatles fan at all, really, and he shoots John Lennon. And you have Sirhan. All these people. I mean, John Lennon it's always peaceful people. Look at this, Gandhi. Let's go back. It's always the people that want peace that they murder, if they have
Yep.
some sort of powerful following. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they won't murder Alex Jones.
I don't know. Maybe it's because he's with them.
Well,
I
that's
don't know.
why they don't murder him. He's controlling a lot of people.
He is.
And I was, again, I'm astounded by it. And I hate to bring it up, but I'm always the one that said I don't want to talk about it, Vinny, but I always end up bringing it up.
Yeah.
Because when I think about it, it annoys me.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt. And I tried to, here it is. I joined We Are Change, and going into it, I already had those feelings for Alex. But I was looking to meet good people like you and Jim and everybody in the group, which I'm very happy that I did join for that reason. And I've met a lot of great people in We Are Change Connecticut. But I've, Alex Jones is really, I've been really upset and really irritated for a while. And but to me, it was like the beginning of trying to wake up people. And I didn't want to get into that. I was more, if someone was to listen to Alex Jones back then, I was happy because they weren't listening to Bill O'Reilly anymore or something like that, or Rush Limbaugh. So I would have been happy back then. But now I feel that there's a lot more of awakening. There's a lot more shows like ours, Bobby Kay and Harry Link, a lot of people all over. So, now it's more, now I'm more verbal about it. And now I don't care about fighting with people about Alex Jones because, me because of the Cooper stuff, man. Just that one thing alone, just to sit there and hear him call William Cooper a drunk loser who, I believe his words were, help them kill him. Like he was an idiot who, just ran out there and wanted to die and said all these horrible things about, to me, one of the greatest patriots who ever lived. That is never, I'm never going to be able to let that go. And the way he talks to people who call in and ask about William Cooper. So
he doesn't talk about Rita Zellweger either. Anything that any hard subject
yes, you said that before. That's true.
Any hard subject that's on the watch list, so to speak, he mutes it out, or he cuts the caller, or he changes the subject. It took me a while. I mean, I didn't just immediately. You remember? It was. I
He's
mean,
really good. He's really good
he's
though.
the best.
Out of
What do
all
you
the
think? What?
people,
Oh, come
yeah,
on. He's a
he's really good.
he's a masterful actor. Is what he is.
Yes, I would agree with that.
He's masterful.
Yeah, and I admit, I mean,
And
I
I'm
listen
probably
to
going to
him
meet
every
him on
single day.
9/11. Are you coming down on 9/11, Vinny?
Oh, you know I am, Howie. You know I am.
So we'll all be down there. Maybe we'll run into Alex Jones and we can
I
ask
was
him some
hoping last
questions.
year, and
No, we
I
probably
didn't.
will. Harry met him when he was down at Harry Link, Death to the New World Order, broadcast 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. An amazing show. Harry Link is a good friend of mine, one of my closer friends, and I know you really don't know him that well, Vinny, but I tell you, he is getting the truth out there, and he's aware of what's going on. And
Mhm.
last Bilderberg, he was there at the Bilderberg the entire conference,
Wow.
and there's a lot of information on that, a lot of archives. You please go to truthbroadcastnetwork.com. That is where the
Yeah, I
information
remember
is.
seeing him last year at 9/11.
And he was
You
with
know.
Alex. Yeah, he ran into Alex. There's a picture of him on the website with Alex
Well,
Jones.
no, Alex wasn't there last year.
Hold on a second.
That had to be for maybe a couple years before that, or the year before or something. But last year Alex didn't come. I see how he had to take a break, so I'll just talk. But I went there hoping that Alex was gonna come. I actually, just to be honest, and I, again, I didn't want to tell people in the group at first
No,
how I really felt.
he used to put
But
me on the air. No, you don't understand. It was like,
oh, I remember you used to get
I
on. I
call
remember
in
Hank would call me and be like, "Did you hear Howard on the show?"
anytime that I would call, I'd get on. Anytime. I never had a problem because I made my impact there, and I told him that I wanted to create a northern command center and all of that. And this is when I was, a supporter of Alex Jones. So it's like
Yeah.
this. It's the same idea, understanding that, like the Anthony Hilder, how I was deceived by Anthony Hilder, and then you start figuring out that Alex Jones sells Anthony Hilder products and Anthony Hilder films and Ted Gunderson and Gunderson. That's the reason why he took Barbara Hartwell off the air. That was the reason why.
Since we talk so much about Anton LaVey, we got to bring up his ex-wife, who Ted Gunderson married.
That's right, Diana Rively, and this is the second time we're bringing her up in this hour. Yes, that's right. It's unbelievable. I mean, so it's hard to believe these things, but when you find the truth, you have to accept it. You cannot be mind controlled to believe just that somebody's that you hold dear to you is. I mean, haven't you? Don't people cheat on their wives and their husbands? I mean, it's possible. You don't want to believe it, but it happens. And then when you realize it, you have to deal with it, and you have to accept the deception and move on. So I'm not going to attack Alex Jones because he gives good information, but it's controlled information, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't touch the things that need to be
Yeah, he
touched.
rants about the TSA and other things.
Yeah. It's not good. It's not good.
No, but I remember I was gonna say I was hoping to see Alex. I was telling Hank and everything, and I was looking for him, and he didn't come. But that's when I ended up running into Luke Rakowski, and that's when me and Luke had met, and Luke didn't like me, and I didn't like Luke, and
Yeah, I could.
I know a lot of people in We Are Change like Luke, and that's fine. I think what Luke's done is great, and I think Luke's done a lot of great work. Luke is part of the reason why I joined We Are Change Connecticut, or why I even knew about We Are Change, is because of Luke and what they were doing in New York, and I'm still a proud member and don't ever want to leave We Are Change. But the truth is I was upset because Luke, again, bringing in William Cooper, Alex Jones, and all this, Luke would stand there and say, Alex Jones, the man who predicted 9/11. And that really upset me because that's not the truth. The truth is William Cooper did way before Alex Jones and talked about, a lot more, really explained it a lot more about him being CIA and come on, folks, how does a CNN news reporter walk into this guy's hideout and have an interview with him when the military and nobody could find this guy? So William Cooper was the guy who predicted 9/11 before Alex, and Luke. I tried to ask, Luke, can you stop saying that because it's not the truth. The truth is William Cooper did before Alex. You do know who William Cooper is, right, Luke? and Luke never will talk to me ever again. And he was like hiding from me at Ground Zero at 9/11 last
Well,
year.
you know the truth about Luke is, and again, where we are, Change Connecticut. We're again, I'm all about truth. I don't care, and there's corruption and evil in all facets, including the truth movement, and there's
Yeah.
COINTELPRO. I mean, that's what you're getting with Alex Jones. It's COINTELPRO. So, does it surprise you that Luke really isn't the founder and person that was this? He's not. He took credit for somebody who passed
Yes.
away
And he actually took money.
and took
Uh,
money and used it to go to school or something. I don't know. So.
yes, he took
Um,
donations that were
now,
for 9/11.
that's the truth. Do I bang on it? Do I hammer it because it's going to make any difference? We're human beings. We're all, including Alex Jones. That's why I don't hammer him. But I want you to realize that don't believe everything that you hear. And he, without sin, cast the first stone. And I'm certainly not going to be saying that I'm a sinless person. But I don't speak lies. I speak the truth. Now,
Yes.
on this, right? I might have sins in my life, but it has nothing to do with this. I'm not compensated. I do this at great cost to my time and but it's for the people. It's for my country. It's for humanity, because I understand what's going on. And Alex Jones does too. But the question is he a profiteer like the people he preaches against? Or is he really, really all interested in, he needs more money to build this operation? I don't think so. I think his operation was moving fine. And, to keep saying that you need donations and all this stuff and
Yeah, while he's going on The View and other news programs.
Yeah, it is clearly a deception. So take that for that as you will. I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying you don't know this information. Like that Agon Khashoggi owns Genesis. It's not owned by Ted Anderson. I mean, there's all this background stuff that people don't understand.
Yeah,
About Reed Elsevier, who owns GCN holds it in the holding company with 15,000 other magazines and cable companies and everything else through the Dutch and Anglo in the English section of the New World Order.
You brought this up before. Can you spend a little more? Because I don't know too much about Reed Elsevier. I know a little bit. Can you teach me a little bit more about her right now?
Yeah, Reed Elsevier, actually. It's ELZ. I always pronounce it wrong. It's ReedElsiver, I think is how it's spelled. It'll come up in a search engine. And it's a great company. It just shows all this beautiful stuff. It doesn't tell you anything if you look at their website, but their holdings are incredible. Their holdings they own over 15,000 magazines. They publish, Cell and Lancet. They publish all the books from HarperCollins, hardcore books. They publish hardcore books, which are all of the medical books in all the medical schools and all the school books that you get in your children are taught in the indoctrination programs in school. They publish, they own Comcast Cable, they own many cable companies. It's a ridiculous holdings, unbelievable. And guess when it was put together and put into order? In 2004. So it's a recent, what they did, as we know, there's 137 companies that really pretty much run the world. They are controlling everything. It's like an hourglass. If you look at an hourglass on its side, and in the middle there's that narrow middle in between the hourglass where the sand goes through. Well, that is the New World Order. That's the 137 companies that have their hands on both sides of the bulbs and are interlocked in them. And this is how their holding made it very easy. They put a whole conglomerate of many different propaganda. It's all, by the way, propaganda. Variety magazine, film production companies, it's all propaganda. And it's to control the masses. And now they have it all in one big holding company called Reed Elsevier. That's right.
Interesting. And that's who owns Genesis?
They own GCN, yes.
Wow.
They're one of the holdings. You can go on their website and look at their holdings. GCN is one of their holdings. They own 15,000 magazines. There's many of them across the world, man. And Cell and Lancet, again, Cell and Lancet, which are what the doctors look to. Especially Lancet. Lancet, your vaccine is Lancet, right? Okay.
Yep.
So these are publications that every doctor in the world gets. It's a tremendous conspiracy, and that's what makes it hard for folks to believe. But then you look at this tremendous, beautiful world, and everyone goes who's never been to Manhattan ever in their life. And of course, we live there basically, Vinny, right? For 30, 40 years or whatever. And right? But
Yeah, like 20 something for me.
so it's always been what we look at. It's always been what we've seen and we knew. But when people come from like Oklahoma or something, they're like, "Oh my God, how could people do all this? Who could have made this happen? How could we have all this buildings and all this infrastructure and all of these pyramid symbols and all of these eyes? Where did this all come from?" Well, they don't say that, but it's all in there. If you go to Manhattan, all the buildings, all the symbols, it's all really there. And then you understand, if those that are awake understand that that's how they do it, by controlling it, by having a coordinated effort. How do you have a war? How did we win World War II? How did we win? How did we do D-Day? How did we coordinate all of that? Think about it. If the Army can coordinate all of that, you don't think that a bunch of really, really smart elite people that are paying all the bank that the governments are getting all their money from to go to war couldn't figure out? Start thinking outside the box, ladies and gentlemen, because that's where the answers. That's where the answers lie. All right, we'll be back in just about 4 minutes. It's a little break here. This is Azure Soul, and
all right.
I'll chat with you on the break, Vinny, but you have to be muted, okay? Because I can mute up here, and then we can just move ahead. And we're going to be having, hopefully in the next couple of minutes, we're going to try to get in touch with Jonathan Gray, who, I hope there's not a miscommunication or something, but last we heard he was supposed to be joining us for this next hour. And we'll get back to you in just a moment. And this is Howard Nema and Vinny Be the Truth on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. And we will be right back.
Try to
soldiers written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Watch Truth Talk News, Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. Have a little dead air there. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We should be back with Jonathan Gray, but I don't think he's here. Vinny, are you there?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess there was a misunderstanding. I mean, I know he wanted to come on 2 weeks ago, but we had Ralph Ellis and Janet on.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, he said September 1st. But, I was real busy, like I told you before the
Well,
show.
you had the baby this week, yeah.
So I didn't really get to stay in touch and stay up on it. I figured he would have remembered, but, I don't know. If he's not going to come, then, another
You don't
time.
have? Can you call him?
He's in New Zealand, so I only did it through Skype.
That's
and
what I mean.
emails.
Through the Skype. Does he had Skype, right? Isn't he a Skype on your
Yeah,
Skype? Can you add
yeah,
him?
but you had it on. Back then I didn't have Skype, so I don't remember. That's why I figured maybe you had it, but
I'm
he
looking to see
must
if
have. I don't know.
I'm looking to see if it's there.
I do want to. I had one page open in his book that I wanted to read, and even though he's not here, I'll just do this for him. It's something I really liked, and see if you like this, Howie. You mind?
Go ahead.
Okay. It says, "Did God create evil?" A university professor challenged his students with the question, "Did God create everything that exists?" A student bravely replied, "Yes, he did." The professor answered, "If God created everything, then God created evil, since evil exists. And according to the principle that our work defines then God, uh, that our work defines who we are, then God is evil." Another student raised his hand. He said, "Yes. May I ask you a question, sir?" "Of course," responded the professor. The student rose to his feet. "Professor," he asked, "does cold exist?" "What kind of question is this? Of course cold exists. Have you ever been cold?" The young man replied, "In fact, sir, cold does not exist. According to the laws of physics, what we consider cold is, in reality, just the absence of heat. We can only study something that has energy or transmits energy. We cannot study cold. Absolute zero, 460 degrees Fahrenheit, is the total absence of heat. All matter becomes inert and incapable of reaction at that temperature. Cold does not exist. We have created this word to describe how we feel if we have no heat." The student continued, "Professor, does darkness exist?" "Of course it does," replied the professor. The student looked again. "Once again you are wrong, sir. Darkness does not exist either. Darkness is in reality the absence of light. We can study light, but cannot study darkness. In fact, we can use Newton's prism to break white light into many colors and study the various wavelengths of each color. You cannot measure darkness. A simple ray of light can break into a world of darkness and illuminate it. How can you know how dark a certain space is? You measure the amount of light present. Isn't this correct? Darkness is a term used by man to describe what happens when there is no light present. Finally, the young man asked the professor, Sir, does evil exist? Now uncertain, the professor responded, Of course, as I have already said, we see it every day. It is in the daily example of man's inhumanity to man. It is the multitude of crime and violence everywhere in the world. These manifestations are nothing else but evil. All eyes were on the student as he replied, Evil does not exist, sir, or at least it does not exist in itself. Evil is simply the absence of God. It is just like darkness and cold. A word that man has created to describe the absence of God. God did not create evil. Evil is not like faith or love that exists just as do light and heat. Evil is the result of what happens when man does not have God's love present in his heart. It is like the cold that comes when there is no heat, or the darkness that comes when there is no light. The professor sat down stunned. The young student's name was Albert Einstein. And I don't know, I really like that. So, what did you think of that?
Wow, that's very heavy. Certainly made a lot of points that make sense. I was thinking along the lines of his logic was it's all logic. It's just using logic.
Hmm.
But the one
And
thing,
scientifically speaking, you know.
yeah. But at the same time, what you also have to remember is that God gave us free will, so he didn't create evil. We created
Mhm.
evil. See, I have
Oh,
a
I understand
fundamental
what you're saying
I
there.
have a fundamental difference there with Einstein, but who am I to you
Well,
know to
Einstein,
uh
but the point that
to
I got out of it,
you
not that
know
you're wrong, but what he's saying is that evil will only come into a person if he doesn't have God in his life, is
I
the point, you
I
know.
think that's the point that was made, and that's true. And you need God in your life, because you need a moral balance. You need a focus on. Uh, you see, I see it so clearly, Vinny. How even in the last 25 years, how our society has decayed. I mean, the little girls, they're dressing them up, like, and they're, like
Yep.
the tweens, that are, it's all sexy, and it's like
Yeah.
it's all about, striving for images that most people are not going to be able to achieve, but they'll spend all this
Hmm.
money and effort and to try to look that way and keep the consumerism going. See, it's all about consumerism, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't buy all this stuff, they wouldn't be able to. They keep trying to manipulate you because you buy into it. It's like it's like being suckered by the same thing over and over again. I mean, when are you going to wake up and realize you're being suckered? You should purchase things you need, not things that make you feel good, which is the whole Bernays theory. If you need it, if you want it, it's one thing. You want a good guitar because it sounds better than another guitar. That has not only a reasonable understanding because you want to have a certain purpose, but you don't want to buy this guitar because it looks good or because it's expensive or because it's a certain make. That doesn't make any sense. That's showing off, because I have news for you. There are guitars, as a guitarist, that you could play, that an Ibanez guitar that sounds better than many Gibson guitars. I mean, depending on or Stratocaster, for example. I mean, it all depends upon um, the wood, and there's a lot of variables and what you like. But if you have to do what society says, you might as well just buy the most expensive guitar, the most expensive amplifier, and hope that you guys can play. But it's really not about that. It's about, the elements that you need to do what you want to do, not to look good doing it. How's that for another rant?
No, that's good. The
You
only
don't
thing
want.
I wanted to add is you were starting it too, where uh is also they don't want us to believe in anything like God or anything like that.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
why they
And
push
ourselves. They don't want
evolution
us to
so
believe in
hard.
ourselves. No, we need to buy stuff to feel good. See, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel good unless you fit in, and you're not going to fit in unless you get these sneakers and whatever else, that cost
Hmm.
$200. It's psychological, and it's setting you up for a lifetime of feeling that missingness. Like, what's missing from you? Well, it's the consumerism. It's this that they want you to consistently have to feel good to buy something to make you feel good, or something that's missing. And really what's missing, like you said, Vinny, it's God. It's the understanding that you have. Look at most folks,
That
uh,
this is special and that we're special,
right.
and that this isn't just some by chance, no meaning, nothing, nothing to see here. Just buy stuff, have fun, and buy. It's not like that.
No.
There's so much. There's so much creation all around us, and they don't want us to believe in anything. They want you to be think that you could be God. Uh,
Well,
think
they
that
do. That's the whole idea of you're your own God, and they want you to be that way. That's part of it. That's what
yeah,
that's what this whole plan is, to get you to have the lie that you are your own God, and meanwhile they're still controlling you. It's
yeah.
part of the New Age philosophy.
And then you got the satanic who basically take the story and make it like God's the bad guy and Lucifer's the good guy, and that he wanted to give man knowledge. So
Yeah, God
that's
wanted to keep
that's
it.
the Luciferian plan.
Yeah, that is the plan. That is, for those that are not aware. Yeah, that's true.
And you reminded me when you were talking about before, like the things they put on television for the mind control and to get these messages out there, and talking about not making uh you know I I've said my comments. I've made many comments in my life about the church and the Vatican and things like that. But even though that there's bad things, there's good people involved. Even though there was a lot of bad that went on, there's a lot of good, and they turned it all into a joke. Uh, the music awards, they have that I'm trying to remember her name. I can't think of it right now. Um, the one of the black R&B singers comes out, calls herself Ronin, comes out with a priest, and they're doing exorcisms. You know, I'm saying this because it's all about making a joke to make the average person who believes in God to feel like he's an idiot, that he's not evolved yet. You're not part of the smart people that are new age thinking or like that. And to me, it's very obvious all over the movies and the propaganda to that there's nothing. Don't believe in God. Don't there is no God. It's a joke, And I think a
Yeah,
lot
they
of
said that. I saw. It's funny. Recently saw a movie, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was recent. It was over the summer or recently. Saw a bunch of movies this year, and this one's. I think it was the movie The Gray Wolf, with the guy who works on an oil refinery line in.
I don't know about it.
It's an interesting story, Vin. I'll take a 1 minute digression. It's like Liam Neeson is a sharpshooter that shoots wolves in Alaska for the Alaska pipeline workers, because these wolves seem to be a problem, so he shoots the wolves. That's
Uh,
his job, right? To keep, well, one of his jobs is to like keep the wolves off the workers while they're working. And when their shift is over and they're coming back, their plane crashes and they're now like with the wolves,
huh.
and it does get back down to this whole thing of that, they fighting a man against the elements and the survival of the fittest. I noticed that, and for anyone watching or listening as well, um, yes, check out the Gray Wolf. I think it's called the Gray Wolf. It was out this year, 2012, and it had Liam Neeson in it. And I don't know, it didn't do that well in the box office, I guess, but it's got a lot of these messages that Vinny and I talk about. And one of the
Uh,
messages was this big message about that there's no God, and uh, the question of faith and the question of God. And but I think they was giving very very many messages, New World Order messages, negative towards there being anything worth it. Um,
yep.
you know, um, and up to now we had everyone being coerced by God for the purposes of war. No one can deny this, right, Vinny? I mean, you have centuries of warfare, the Crusades, of course.
Definitely.
How can we deny
Number one
that?
reason for war.
Yes,
Number one reason.
religion and governments have killed more people than anyone. It's
Yep.
genocide. Yep. So you can't deny that now. So now the interesting thing is your belief system is in such a way, but now they're switching the whole agenda and they're taking the agenda the opposite way. And instead of the war for the right of religion, it's the war against religion.
Mm, good
It's
point.
That's what's happening. They
Yeah.
just flip the coin. And that
Because again, I look at almost like that Einstein quote, where
it's
again,
controlling society.
but if for people to give up hope and not believe in God, then if you take out God, whether real or not, I mean, if you really think that there's then that it's just by chance and there's no reason, then you really look at yourself no different than a rock or just something, like you're just, what's the point? And if you don't feel that there's anything special about yourself, then you obviously aren't going to have confidence or believe in yourself to do anything. You're going to just look at yourself as nothing. You're just, oh, I'm just here and whatever. And those
Or
people are
worse,
the
you think
ones
you'll
that are
never
easy to
be able to
control.
be anything.
Those are the
Or
ones that,
worse, you're
yeah,
going to feel right, Vinny. But it's worse because it's trying to make you feel like you're worthless, you're useless, and you don't have any skin on your bones. It's
yeah.
because
So then what are you going to
any
stand for?
little
What are you going
any
to
little
fight for if you
setback will
don't even
put you
think there's anything
right,
special about you? You
right.
know, I remember even the Fritz show we did where I said to Fritz, no matter what anyone says, it's like believing in Jesus or God, and this, it gives you power. Whether it's real or not is besides the point. It's just the faith gives you power, and by eliminating the faith, whether real or wrong, or fictional or not, it's still the idea, the mindset that it gives you. It
Hmm.
gives you power,
Right.
and that's, I feel, one of the main reasons, because obviously they're religious people. I mean, they could say that they're not Christians, but they're religious people. I mean, they're more religious than I think than the average person. These are people that worry about every day.
Too, because when this
Okay.
happens, well, maybe not. No, it's still going. It's still recording, attempting to reconnect. Something got in the way of our stream there. I don't know. It's very weird. I don't have anything else open, but once
Okay,
again,
I
we
see you
lost
again now.
internet. Yeah, we lost internet. Um, yeah, you're monitoring the show. What do you see when this happens?
It went black the whole screen, but now
No
it's
kidding. And then
back with
yeah,
with me and
okay.
you.
So it's going to go black on that. It's going to go through that. It says perfect streaming again. So something interfered with us once again. I don't know. We're just talking. Now it's
Yeah.
just like, you got to just say, well, is it a coincidence? Well, I don't know. I mean, we've been
Hmm.
talking about all these different coincidences today, haven't we, Vinny? Like all the different coincidences in history
Yeah.
and everything else, and people that might not be aware of our, the things that have happened to us online here. We've been having a lot of coincidences. So looks like
That was
everything.
actually the first time I was thinking about the Jonathan Gray show we did the first time, was actually when we went off on the rant about Timothy Patrick White and that
Yes,
whole thing. You
yeah,
remember?
yes, I do. Timothy Patrick White. Um,
Censorship. They were messing with our stuff.
they certainly were. And so, whatever. It could have just been a strange little internet blurb there, but we have perfect streaming now, so looks like everything's going well. But yes, probably on the rebroadcast, which interestingly enough, I want to talk about the rebroadcast, Vinny.
Okay.
I broadcast this show here um, on truthbroadcastnetwork.com on Saturdays and also on Project Freedom Radio. And Monday through Thursday, Truth Talk News on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. And then, of course, I upload them to the YouTube channel that we have, which is youtube.com Freedom First Films. So if you go on YouTube and you go to Freedom First Films, you'll find all of the archives for all of these shows.
Yep.
And what's really interesting is I get
It's great
requests.
work, Howie.
I get a lot of, and let me tell you, Vinny, I get a lot of people that are been like, subscribing and we're viewing about, um, I would say, somewhere around 9,000 views per month on the site, and it's only been up for really actively. The show has really been making this thing zoom up in the information. So we are losing, we're losing a little bit of. Did you hear me there, Vin? It looks like
Yeah,
we
it
lost the
got lost
connection
for a
again.
second, but you're back on.
Okay.
The Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, the video again, it'll record what we see here. What I see here gets recorded, but they might be seeing a black screen. But I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. For some reason, we're talking about screens there. But anyway, so yeah, I got a recent subscriber, and it was interesting because it really was. It was like, so guess who subscribes to us and likes to check out our broadcasts?
Oh,
Howard Stern.
get out of here.
I kid you not. Go on the page and you can see Howard Stern is subscribed to us.
That's pretty funny.
He might even talk about us because he can do whatever he wants, and that's pretty
That is
interesting.
funny. Yeah, but
No,
he's
he's
got
been
to be
waking
one
up.
of
I
them, Mr.
understand
Serious
lately.
Radio over there.
I haven't. He's always been controversial and causing a lot of trouble. But my point is, I haven't listened to Howard Stern in 10 years.
Uh-huh.
But I did hear that from some people. He's on like satellite now on Sirius or something.
Yeah.
And I do think that he has recently come to an awareness of what's going on. So he's awake.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard something about that, and now it's interesting that he subscribed. So out to you, Howard. Thank you. And I didn't ignore you on 2 or 3 shows that I did, not mentioning it. I just wanted to wait till I had Vinny because.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean,
and if you ever want us on the show,
my dad, like listening to him forever, and my uncles.
Yeah,
and
I
grew
listen
up,
to him in New York all the time. I think in fact,
it's pretty funny.
But my point is, I thought it was interesting that he subscribed to us, and we go on your show anytime, talk about the truth and uncensored, which is what we do. So anyway, yeah, all this whole thing about killing God, man, that's really what it's about. They're just trying to kill God. Wouldn't you say that's really what it is? Make everybody secular.
Yeah, because then you
God will
lose
be the
power.
earth.
You lose the power.
And then earth, you only need the earth, right? You only have to make sure that your water's good, and we have to make sure that there's enough toilets. That's why, that's what's going on with Billy Gates now, is now on the toilet campaign to use feces as energy.
Wow.
You haven't heard about that?
No.
Oh, he gave a study. He's giving like a whole bunch of money to these some California college that came up with a way to use toilets in Africa so they could turn their feces into renewable fuel.
Wow.
They're gonna call it the new toilet of the future, and it probably will.
We can't just put some pipelines in there for them.
Well, there's no water. They have they have to deal with their situation because he's got to just continue to give them vaccines, and now he's going to make sure that their crap can be used as energy. Yeah, I don't know, man. The whole thing is really weird. Bill Gates really freaks me out. He really freaks me out.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's smart. Like he's like a Rockefeller. He's got that same.
Oh yeah.
That same way of like, well, look at this. This is a good thing, right? And by the way, with those toilets, you're gonna get a free shot. So, oh man, I don't know. But anyway, you got to be wary of these things. First of all, fertilizer has been used as fuel before. I don't know why. If that's the case, then it's to help the third world somehow. That's what he's talking about. He's always trying to help the third world.
Oh yeah, I know.
I guess we can't
depopulate.
I guess we can't. Yeah, depopulate it. I guess that would be some way their fuel could be used. Their feces could be used as fuel. Would be good for the Africans. I don't know. I really don't know. But he loves them so much. He really loves them, Vinny. I mean, they love him to the tunes of billions of dollars.
For vaccines, not food or nothing.
No.
But vaccines, yeah.
No.
It's love.
No, it's pure. It's pure love.
Pure love.
Pure love. Yes. Yeah, it just it's moving along. They just want us to believe the United Nations is out for peace. And let's see, there's 2 more jewels left in the crown. We've already got Egypt locked up. We got Libya locked up.
We're just
Um,
waiting on the Iran thing, I guess.
Iran and Syria, yeah, and then they're pretty much there. Israel's been threatening for a year to bomb Iran because they've got this enriched program, and they're trying to get the United Nations is saying, "Oh, we've got to stop them," you know.
Yeah, and I remember them saying that freaking 10 years ago.
Yeah, same thing with weapons of mass destruction. We know there are weapons. We have definite evidence there are weapons of mass destruction.
Yep, just like
Definite.
Saddam, right?
Yes, absolutely, man. And you know what the difference is with Saddam? They actually they actually executed him and they videotaped it, and you can watch him swing. If you
Yep.
look on YouTube enough, you can actually see him there dangling. There are a couple of more gruesome shots that if they haven't gotten him down by now. Happens, Vinny. It
Yep.
always happens when
When we get
again
into good
we want to just make sure that we're not just having a technical problem, because it does happen. And I'll admit, when I, like, for example, I was gone, I'm sorry, my voice wasn't off. I was, like, earlier we had I came back from the break. I could have been a 30 seconds off, I don't know, before I came back, but that was a mistake, and I'll say that. But recently, when we have streaming problems, uh I can't explain that at all. I have no other open.
Yeah, and I told you about them hacking my
Oh yeah,
YouTube channel again, the next one I made.
yep,
They hacked mine last year, the first one, Vinny Bdatruth, and then I had to create Vinny Bdatruth 1, and that's where I put the Immortal Technique show and the Horowitz Hilda one, and then they cut me off on that too. So
yeah. Well, it's a
I don't
very
know,
strange.
coincidences. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of coincidences. Like the coincidence that every time I upload a video, Vinny, it says I'm uploading two, but I'm uploading one. And I've actually put you can go on livestream.com, Truth Talk News, and it's still in the history on the library, where I show this, where I'm uploading a YouTube video, one video, and you could see it clearly. It says upload, nothing, and I show the screen, and it says uploading two videos. And I'm like, well, what does this mean? And it only happens when I upload a video, right? So I finally come to the conclusion that, well, I realize now what it is. It's going somewhere else. There's uploading a video to me, and then there's another. There's a
To the
ghost.
CIA.
Yeah, there's another account. There's a ghost. Exactly. I'm linked. I'm talking.
Everybody with the controversy, I still think that it's good to listen to everything and get it from the mouth of the source. And this is something that I've been looking into for 3 years, ever since, like I told him, I seen a documentary years ago that mentioned his books and many others talking about Egypt. And I've even brought up about Sigmund Freud writing Moses of Monotheism and getting murdered, where they talk about these were Egyptian pharaohs and their stories. So, I just wanted to have Ralph Ellis come on and explain it. And but now, here it is 2 weeks later, and Jonathan Gray, hopefully is going to be joining us at some point. Um, we'll be sitting here talking about the rescue plan and Jesus. That's what I mean about being open minded, and I'm open to hear everything. And I don't think Ralph Ellis is satanic or anything evil like that, but that is his opinion, and that's all I could call it right now because even though he was on the show, I can't say fact or fiction for his stuff. It's just very interesting opinions is what I wanted to hear. You know what I'm saying, Howard?
Oh no, absolutely. In fact, I think that it's a good analysis of the idea of what we're trying to portray here, Vinny. Is that uh, for anyone to make an informed decision, you need to have information, and you need to not be limited by the information. And the founding fathers understood this, that we have that thought, individual ideas, and even beliefs,
Yeah, freedom of
freedom,
religion.
right, of course, has a place, and the understanding is that it should be respected, and that's part of the moral code that the New World Order is trying to decay, to divide the people by religion, to divide the
Yes, have
people
us
by
fighting.
to have us
Hmm.
fighting, right? And interestingly enough, we're talking about Freud, Edward Bernays, his nephew. Um, of course, famously for creating the fact that everyone wants to buy these products to make them.
The vitamin K shot is for a blood clotting problem with the children, and when I look into it, it's like it's rare. It's maybe 4 out of 100,000 babies might have this problem,
Mhm.
and I guess for I think 20 or 30 years they've been doing vitamin K shots, and she's telling me, why don't you want to do this? And I said, listen, I think that a lot of problems that are all around us are because of too much vaccination. 60 vaccines for a 6-year-old is too much. There's just way too much of this, and I don't agree with it. And she tried to get into, well, I understand what you're saying about the vaccines, but this is vitamin K.
Mhm.
And then I
That
started
Vinny,
laughing.
I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah, because yeah, it's funny,
Oh,
hilarious. But why don't you show your camera, man, until Jim from
well,
We Are
I'm not
Change
really. It's kind
Connecticut.
of all crazy over
Oh,
here.
it is. Okay, okay. I didn't know that you're unable to do that. That's no worries. But listen, I'm going to just be on you for a minute. I have to step away just for a second. But give the audience a just so that if you ask for me where I'm going to be, I'll be away for about 30 seconds.
Okay.
But go into what's going on. I know we spoke
So
about it, but now yeah, go into her whole propaganda, trying
yeah,
to convince you with her compartmentalized view of the world. All right, go ahead.
okay. So she tells me, I understand the vaccines. I'm not telling you to because they want to give hepatitis B also shot the minute they're born. Those are the two vaccines. And she said, I understand, how you feel about the vaccination. She said, but vitamin K, it's a vitamin. And that's when I laughed. Nice, not to be mean and get into a fight with her, but I had to laugh. And I said, well, vitamin K, that's the name of it, but it's not vitamin K. It's synthetic. You know that, right? And she did know that, and she said, "Well, yes, it is synthetic." I said, "Okay," and I looked up the ingredients, and there's like 5 different chemicals, and one of them is like an at every aspect of our society, mentally conditioning us to doubt, ignore, and reject the survival strategy offered in the Forbidden Secret. But a powerful figure is set to smash their agenda. Meanwhile, a rescue plan is in place, and simple steps will guarantee your survival. Well, I think a lot of you know who the powerful figure is set to smash their agenda. Um, Jonathan Gray is, not like Ralph Ellis. These are two opposite end guys, I would say. I would definitely like to ask him some things about Ralph Ellis. Um, but he is saying that even it was written before the Bible, I've know he's talked about with the stars,
Right.
and that even this story goes back to the stars about uh, a savior coming, born from a virgin, and all of this is even written in the stars before the Bible. And he says that this is the story that was all over the world and that everybody knew, and that Jesus and all this is real, that the devil is real,
Oh
and
yes, no doubt.
so like I said, this is you know, uh, I had Ralph Ellis on 2 weeks ago, which is talking about Jesus being a Mason and all that. So
Yeah,
like I
that
said,
was a very controversial about that whole thing. And then again, his viewpoints that the Illuminati are good. It's sort of like what? I mean, I had a little
well,
problem
I
with
picture
that.
I picture him sort of like Tom Hanks in the Da Vinci Code. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how Tom Hanks was in the Da Vinci Code, if you remember, kind of.
Do you think
Uh,
Ralph Ellis is an atheist? Or does he
uh
believe in God? Does he believe in God, or I mean, it's like the idea of whether you believe in Jesus or
yeah,
the stories. I mean, is he the kind of person that just believes there is no God? Like Nietzsche said, God is dead.
no, I don't think he's that. But I think that he definitely has a different outlook on the story, and that was his opinion through his research.
Right.
I've never been to Egypt. I don't know, uh, but this is why I said before the show.
Good evening. I'm Howard Nema, and you are watching and listening to We Are Change Connecticut with my co-host Vinny Bdatruth. Vinny, how are you? You out there, Vinny?
Yep, sorry, I had to get the
Yeah,
mic
I was
unmuted.
just I had a little technical thing trying to get my mic started as well, but we are back, and it's good to hear your voice, brother. I know that you have an addition to your family now, so that's some awesome news. Let's give the audience a little heads up.
Yeah, it was Tuesday, the 28th at 1:20. My daughter VN, which is VIENNE, VN Bella was born, and my girlfriend had to have a C-section, so we were there for a few days. I didn't get out till yesterday, me and her. Um, but very healthy, beautiful baby. Very excited.
That's awesome.
I'm sure a good thing to talk about for the show and for our audience is about the vaccines and how I had to deal with the doctors every single day, about 7 or 8 people trying to get her vaccinated and immunized.
They were just
And
just constantly after you to do it, right? Every minute you were there,
yeah,
pretty
and
much, right?
that's why we filled out these papers, had them notarized, brought it to them from the beginning, had it for months, and they still everybody.
Oh, they're brainwashed. They'll think you're child abuse. I'm surprised CPS hasn't come to your house yet, Vinny.
Well, we never know what's down the line, but the one lady at the end, the day we were leaving, before we could leave,
Mm-hmm.
the one head nurse had to come and talk to me. She tried to talk to my girlfriend Tina, and she, said, "Listen, my boyfriend doesn't want to do that." So she wanted to talk to me. So we talked, and it was the vitamin K shot that
They were really, yeah.
that she just wanted to talk to me about, and they antifreeze. So it's not vitamin K; it's synthetic. I want to be as natural as possible, I told her, and she then continued to say, well, vitamin K is very necessary, and how is she going to get it? And I said, well, through breastfeeding. My girlfriend, Tina, all she has to do is eat leafy greens, like broccoli is the number one thing for vitamin K. So that would be the natural way. And this is what I was explaining to her. And finally, after, handling it calm and talking intelligently, they try to pressure you, make you get scared. Well, do you understand that, her risk are higher because of you not doing this, and basically had to say, yes, I understand, and I still want this to be this way. And so my daughter is a healthy baby with no vaccinations. And now we're finally home. We got home yesterday. Um, I know Jonathan Gray is scheduled for today. I haven't gotten in touch with him yet. I'm hoping that he'll join. I got a lot of questions for him. The book, if he comes on, which we're thinking he's supposed to come on, the Forbidden Secret: Charting Your Rescue from the New World Order, is going to be the main topic we'll be talking about. Let me read one of the things in the back here. The one, okay, um,
Really
okay,
interesting, Vinny. Now they can. Vinny, go ahead with
yes.
reading the thing you're going to read.
The one thing that isn't a secret is that our world is in a monstrous mess. We are surrounded by fear, violence, corruption, fake scientific data, religious hypocrisy, secular despair, evil at the highest levels, permeating our daily lives. A murderous mob has seized control of our planet. They have chilling plans for you and your family. The elite have sworn to suppress the forbidden secrets, discredit it, and keep it from the public. They have deceitfully manipulated